Well, welcome everyone. It's hard to believe that this is our final Lunch and Learn of 2023. And so we are so excited to have Michelle Zellner join us once again to talk about Holiday Survival Guide, which is, I'm sure, everyone's top priority right now as we climb into the holiday season. And so before passing this over to her, I wanted to remind you of two things. One being that we do record these sessions. So if you're unable to join us for the entire session or would just like to watch it again or refer this session to somebody else, we will be sending a link to the recording and the slides in a follow-up email within the next week or so. In addition, Michelle loves an interactive audience, so feel free to use the Q&A or the chat box features, and we will answer as many questions or get to as many comments as we can throughout today's session. So without further ado, Michelle, I will turn this over to you.
Thank you, Angela. A pleasure as always to be here with this group. Quick background on me, and then we will dive into this. My name is Michelle Zellner. I have a wellness business called Better Beings, and that has been my mission for 26 years to help people be better human beings physically, mentally, and emotionally. I have my undergraduate degrees in psychology and nutrition from the University of Hawaii and my master's in kinesiology from CU Boulder, and very fortunate to partner with really great EAPs like yours to get to chat with people like you about really important topics. So we have a lot to cover, and I love that it's called Holiday Survival Guide, simply so that I can say, I really don't want you to survive. I don't. I want you to thrive, because we can thrive during this time, truly. It might take a little effort, which is probably going to be required on your part, and yet the holidays come every year, right? And as somebody who did not love this time of year for very, very, very many years of her life, I realized that if I am only going to survive this chunk of time every year of my life, that's really taking a lot of my life away from me. And ultimately, I am in control of what I think, feel, say, and do. That is the standard throughout life, and certainly a standard during the holidays. And if I want to fully enjoy life, the holidays are coming no matter what, whether Michelle likes them or not, they're coming every year. And maybe I can do some things differently so that I do thrive during this time. So I'm curious to hear from all of you. Give me a score. And I want you to think about not just how much do you enjoy the holidays, but do you enjoy your outcome as well, right? When you wake up in January, how are you feeling physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially? Because I know a lot of people enjoy the holidays, but then they wake up in January and maybe they don't feel so great. That was like the big light bulb moment for me. Like, okay, if I want to feel differently, I'm going to have to probably do things differently along the way. So give me a score, scale of 1 to 10, not only how much you enjoy it, but how much do you enjoy your outcome as well? Scale of 1 to 10, pop a note in that chat box. Hopefully everyone can hear me. We got a note that someone is not hearing well, so I'm guessing that might be on your end because I'm getting lots of scores here. And when you think about, oh, this is a good one too, preparing for the holidays, right? But that's all part of it, right? Good, such a good point, because I think we do. We like the event, but, but who likes to do all the work? I find a lot of people who love the holidays, it's because they just show up. They get to eat, drink, be merry, open some presents, and go home. What's not to love about that? They don't do any of the work. So clearly your experience through this time is different, right? Depending upon your particular situation. The more moving parts you have, the more complicated it is, probably the more time, money, and energy you're going to spend. You have very simple situation, maybe you're not spending a ton of time, money, or energy, or you are, but it's well within your comfort zone. So these are all the things to think about as we navigate this time of year. And I think it's also helpful to identify for yourself specifically what do the holidays mean. I mentioned for you for earlier that for me, I didn't love this time of year ever since I was a kid because I was a gymnast growing up, which I loved. Competition season starts in January to do all the things everybody gets to do and wants to do, and that we just do between basically Halloween and January doesn't really work out well for a girl who's putting her body in a leotard and flipping it over and up and down and all around. So it became this whole like 8 weeks of, ugh, it's not fair. I don't get to do what everyone else gets to do, and I really want to. And then it became fear and anxiety about being around all the stuff that I want to participate in, and then not knowing how to navigate that. And I mean, it really became a big deal for me. I also grew up in rural Wisconsin. If you know anything about Wisconsin, this time of year it's cold and dark, very cold and dark. There's not a lot to do except sit inside and eat, because what else would you do with the holidays? And I love that, except again, doesn't really work out well if you're going to go try to be a successful gymnast. I also had a very small family: mom, dad, sister, me. Extended family was in Europe and in upstate New York. So I was always a little jealous of my friends who had the big groups and the aunties and uncles and cousins and grandma and grandpa. And oh, it was so festive and joyful. And I was like, huh. And here's us, meh. And I mean, I could tell you all the other reasons why this was not my favorite time of year. If we could just hit the fast forward button and wake up in January, I would so sign up for that. So I did a lot of digging into me and figuring out, why don't I like this time of year? What about it don't I like? And then what can I do about that? For me, that is the basic ingredient of the recipe for success. Let me evaluate the things that are challenging for me and then determine, what can I do about it? Because again, the holidays are coming, whether Michelle likes them or not. And it's her choice of how much she's going to embrace it, resist it, her attitude through it. I don't control what anybody else thinks or feels or says or does. Neither do you. And so starting early, right? Whatever again that means. And for me, that meant starting in October and evaluating all the things, the obligations, the expectations, the options. Also evaluate your budget, not just your money, but your time, your energy, your yeses. How many yeses are you going to be dishing out? It's the holidays, right? Oh, it's the holidays. How many times have you heard that or said that? Oh, it's the holidays. Why not? It's the holidays. I can't help it. It's the holidays. It becomes like the justification for, or the permission to, or whatever, right? For all the things that we do that are above and beyond what we normally do in maybe the time that's not the holidays. And yet everything is going to impact how you feel in January. So thank you all for sharing. It looks like we're kind of all over the board, right? With how much we love it, what we don't love about it. And I think that is really important to recognize as well. When you share this time with other people, not everybody has the same feeling about this time of year. One of the things that helped me kind of shift all of this was to ask my family, like, let's write it all down. Everybody separately write down your idea of the perfect holiday. Describe it. Write the story. Tell me what it looks like. If you can wave the wand and boom, we're having the perfect holiday. And what we discovered was, even though there's only 4 of us, not one of us had the same definition, which of course means somebody's not gonna feel great, right? Or maybe there's somebody who is devoting a whole bunch of their resources, time, money, energy, and yeses to make it perfect. Except the people they're doing that for, that's not their definition of perfect. So now you may have just maybe not utilized those resources in the best way. So get to know the people you spend this time with. What are the expectations? What are your expectations of yourself? I really did used to go into this like I have to go to Wisconsin. I have to go to Wisconsin for the holidays. Bleh, it was like all this. Bleh. Going to school in Hawaii was pretty fantastic. I'm not gonna lie. That's why I chose it. Going home for 3 weeks to Wisconsin over holiday break, not fantastic at all. In fact, I did that the first year and literally sat inside because it's cold and dark and we live out in the country and we don't have a ton of family and things and people are doing all the things. I went home 12 or back to school 12 pounds heavier. No joke. And I vowed I am never, ever doing that again. So this was probably my very first experience setting boundaries. Boundaries with myself, but setting boundaries with others. I let my family know the following year, 10 days is my cap. I 10 days. Oh, but honey, we want you here. What are you going to do all by yourself for the rest of the time on break? Oh, I don't know. I figure out some things. So I set a boundary, and boundaries are hard. But I also know that I'm not okay when I'm not okay. And if I can't do the things that make me okay, eventually everyone else is not going to be okay either. So establishing that boundary, really hard to do. And really hard to enforce because, of course, the following year I go home and day 7, 8, 9, oh, we wish you were staying. Why do you have to leave? Can you stay longer? And then I would get irritated, right? Just be happy I'm here, right? Eventually I shifted my mindset on that and I chose to be grateful that I have people who love me and want to spend time with me. And yet I'm still only setting this boundary. In fact, the boundary got smaller. I know my bandwidth is 5 days in Wisconsin in the winter. That's it. More than that, it's not happening. But these are the things you learn as you go. So you think about your expectations for you. I expect myself to show up in a healthy, happy version of me with kindness and compassion, with grace and gratitude. I know I can only have kindness and compassion, grace and gratitude if I'm also taking care of this one. And I think that's kind of what happens during this time of year, especially if this is in your nature when it's not the holidays. You do everything for everyone and you neglect this one. Well, now here we are at the holidays where there's all the extra things to do for everyone, which means you're even more neglecting this one. So set yourself up for your success first, and then we'll see how far out of my comfort zone am I willing to go because it's the holidays. So you establish your budget, right? Your comfort zone of how much money are you willing to spend? How many yeses are you willing to dole out? When it comes to your food choices, right? What are we going to do with that? I mean, it's everywhere, right? And that's why people are like, oh, it's the holidays. Right. And then you wake up in January and you're like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Well, the holidays happened and they happen every year. Ultimately, we have to figure out how to balance all these things. And I think we do become maybe a little bit idealistic and unrealistic when we're comparing ourselves to what society says we should be doing and feeling at this time of year. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Not everybody thinks that. Or maybe you do in general, but maybe not this year for whatever reason. So it's totally okay for everyone to have the feelings that they have about it. And I think a lot of that starts with you actually just looking inward to figure that out. When we discovered that nobody has the same definition of the perfect holiday, then we had to come together and decide, okay, well, how are we going to do this? Because we all love each other. We really do want to share this time together. But it's not fun when someone's feeling like, they don't get it their way, or we have to do all these things and that doesn't really, matter to me. And I think this is where tradition really comes into play. I'm curious what your traditions are, how you feel about them. Traditions generally take time, money, and energy. Are they worth it? Why do we do it? How have they changed as you've grown and gone through life? I know for a lot of people, one of the biggest struggles at the holidays is we maybe want to do what we always used to do, even though life looks nothing like it used to look. Or there's somebody in your circle who wants the holidays to be the way they always were, even though the dynamics have completely changed. And it's just not even realistic to do it that way. Um, my sister's definition and my definition very, very different. She would love if we could go back to our childhood home, go into the property, pick out our tree. Usually it looked like some Charlie Brown tree, set it up with all the nonsense bubble lights and flickering lights and this, that, the other, and all the homemade ornaments that I'm just like, oh, these are just hideous. And then we would, bake, and we would do all these lovely things that I don't know whose family she grew up in, because that was not our holiday. But she has that idealistic view of it. Mine is, let's go to Hawaii. That's my idea of the perfect holiday. But think about your traditions, right? And how do these play a role? Which ones are important? Why are they important? How are we modifying them maybe to keep the meaning of the reason we do it, but maybe paring it down because the time, money, and energy devoted to doing it perhaps is pushing us out of that comfort zone. I think it's, something that obviously connects us to culture and can just connect us to maybe someone that we've lost, right? So and so always used to do this, and we want to keep that spirit alive. So we're going to keep the tradition going to honor that memory. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can do with traditions. I'm curious what ones you have. Nobody is sharing your traditions with me. I always find them really fascinating. I think it's great when we maybe have multicultural families where we bring the traditional cultures or cultural traditions into the mix, and we do a little of this and a little of that. Going to school in Hawaii, I was certainly exposed to a lot of different traditions from people that I met all along the way. There was one year where I did not go home for Christmas and was invited to do some really amazing things, and thought, wow, this is kind of cool. I'd like to be part of this tradition. The only thing I do is cook dinner. What do you mean the only thing? That's a big thing, right? And what does that even mean? Think about the foods, right? These foods that we must have because it's the time of the year. Every year there's the argument over, ham or turkey, or is it seafood? I have people who seafood is the tradition, right? Maybe Italian or whatever. So, I mean, there's a lot here. Think about it. And again, what does it mean? Why does it matter? Does it matter? Are these creating additional stress or not? If doling out your yeses is worth it, then we do it, right? That's the thing. So keep thinking about what those are, and maybe we don't have any, and maybe incorporating some would make it really nice and something that bonds us in a more special time of year, right? Um, I love it. Christmas Eve party after church, then a Christmas story late at night. Mom always makes crab dip and onion crackers. I love that. Let's see, somebody else said we always do our celebration and then we go out and serve other people in the community. Amazing tradition. Giving back is a huge piece of it. Watching Rudolph, love that. Isn't it funny to go back and watch that and just see how primitive it all looked? And yet there's something very comforting, right, about going back to that simple time. Let's see, over 25 years, I would bake brown sugar cookout cookies with my daughters before Christmas. Love it. Drive around looking at the lights and then watch Elf. So fantastic, right? And these are the little things that hopefully bring us joy, and that's why we continue doing it. Or it fills our cup in some way, right? It gives us purpose. It makes us feel like we're contributing. White Christmas and cookies. That is fantastic. Love it. Let's talk about the decorating. Don't go crazy, or do. Keep it simple, or don't. Do whatever you want. I mean, there's no rule, right? Again, your time, money, and energy. If the decor is what makes you feel in the spirit, brings you joy, gives you smiles, right? Makes it feel festive and uplifted, then do it. Here's what I find. A lot of people love the decoration, they don't like doing the decorating, or even more so, they don't like taking it all down. So, whoever is doing this with you and for you, we should be having these conversations. Again, people usually love to see it, but nobody likes to do the work. If we're going to enjoy the outcome, maybe we can embrace the process of the work as well. Yeah, it's a lot of work to put things up and and to put things away, but can we do it in a fun way, right? We put on some fun music, we light a fire, light the candles, we maybe go through and reminisce about why this ornament means something to me. And we make it part of the event versus like this yucky piece of it to have this beautiful outcome. So you make it part of the whole experience. If there are people in your family who are enjoying the outcome and they are of an age where they could help contribute to the process, let's get them involved in some way. It's also okay to not do the same thing all the time. Again, if your life is different from what it used to look like, then maybe we can embrace doing it differently. There's going to be people you share time with that don't agree with how we should decorate. This was a huge argument every year between me and my sister. Every year. I remember very clearly. Again, the Charlie Brown tree. Ugh. I like the perfect aesthetic. These colored lights, these ornaments, the perfect symmetric tree. I want it all to be like, you know, beautiful. My version of beautiful. And it was always a fight. So one year my dad said, all right, Michelle, you get this half of the tree, Nicole, you get this half of the tree. And we decorated it the way we wanted. And it was a hot mess of nonsense. And we thought it was hilarious. But that got me thinking, you know what? Do your tree. Do it the way you like it. I don't care. I want my own little tree in my room that I can decorate the way I like it. And that created a beautiful solution. I sacrificed my preference for the big family tree. You can have it your way. I will just go and have my perfect little tree the way I want it, and we'll all be happy. So, compromise in different ways, right? Getting to know and understand why these things matter to someone, and seeing how we can kind of work together to make it, something that's going to be pleasing and work for everybody. All right, let's talk about this because this, I know for a fact, is one of the biggest stressors for almost everybody. Not only the money, but the gift itself, right? The perfect gift. I got to get the perfect gift. It has to be thoughtful and personal. It has to cost enough so that they don't judge me that I didn't get them something as nice as they got me. I have to get it for everybody and something for everyone. Otherwise, someone will feel left out or feel bad, or I'll get criticized, or I'll whatever. There's all kinds of things going on. And then I'm going to have this secret stash of gifts over here because there might be somebody who gives me a gift that I didn't get a gift, but I'm going to pretend like, oh no, I thought about you. Here, look, I got it just for you. Anybody? Am I speaking out loud to anybody? Um, Again, depends on who you shared this time with, how we're doing this, right? So when you think about the gifts, let's think about who we're giving them to and why. Giving should be organic. It should be something you truly want to do, right? A lot of times it's an obligation. It's a check the box. It's a I'm going to give because there's an expectation, and I also expect something in return. And if I give you something and you don't give me something back, well, then don't you love me? Why did I bother spending time and energy giving you a gift? And there's all kinds of feelings about it. Or someone gives you a gift and you're like, oh, but I didn't get them anything. And now I feel guilty and bad. And now I'm going to rush to make up for it. Maybe we can start to have some conversations with people in our lives, depending on where we are, who we are, what we're doing with this. Perhaps it's okay to let go of this piece of it, and maybe we have to be honest and vulnerable and just realize that financially, I'm not in the same place as you are, and it makes me very uncomfortable when you give me something because I don't give back. Or we can just lay out the expectation. Hey, can we just stop with the gift giving thing? If you are someone who speaks up on that, I can almost guarantee that there's gonna be someone else who's like, oh, thank you. Yes, big sigh of relief, right? but nobody wants to be that person who's like the Scrooge and speaks up about it, right? Uh, so again, you evaluate your budget, what is who and what and why, and then we navigate in the various ways. The let's see, I really care way too much about the gifts I give. They have to be perfect for each person. And that is so interesting, right? Because let's talk about perfect. What does it mean? I know my aunt, every year she shopped really, really hard for the perfect sweater for me. I know she did. And she really thought she bought me the perfect. Michelle's gonna love this. And every year I was like, really? And now I have to wear it. Just stop buying me sweaters, please. You know, when I was that age, the perfect gift would have been 30 bucks instead of the $30 you spent on the sweater. So how do we even know? Right? It means that it means that we feel like we really know this person super, super well. And sometimes we do. My dad one year got my mom a walk because they had just, and this was when I was really young, they had just gotten into like stir frying, and there was this amazing restaurant they loved to go to. And he just thought, he really, truly, truly 100% thought this was amazing. Really, a walk. My mom doesn't like to cook. She likes to eat the good food. She doesn't like to cook. So I will never forget that. The next year, it was some beautiful diamond earrings in an appliance box. So she thought she was getting another appliance weighted down with a brick, and she was a little more pleasantly surprised. Let's see. I started to get stressed today about one friend I didn't buy for yet, and always give her super unique or meaningful gifts. It's a real thing. Yeah, it is overwhelming, right? Um, Asking for gift ideas to make it easier, 100%. That's a good way to go about it. Um, One that they won't donate. That's funny. You're right. At least I only had to wear the sweater in Wisconsin. That is true. And I usually had to wear it once for a picture because she lived in New York, so she didn't really know if I didn't wear it or not. But yeah. But that's the thing, right? How often do we get something that we're like, I'm just going to donate this anyway? Or, you know, we try to make everybody happy, and yet so years ago, when I was a personal trainer, this literally was my most stressful moment of the year. What do I get these people that can literally get themselves anything that I'm okay spending my money out, you know, that they're going to even care about? And it was always really difficult for me. So it was when these gigantic 3-wick candles first came out, and they were like $80. And even though I could spend $80 on a candle, I never would ever. That's absurd to me. But this client, I was so happy about this. She's going to love it. I know exactly where in her house it's going to go. I felt so good about this gift. It felt personal, unique, felt really proud. That day comes, we go to exchange gifts. She gave me the exact same candle, scent, brand, everything. She had the same feelings about it. Michelle would never buy a candle like this for herself. I feel so good. I'm going to give her this really, pretty, beautiful luxury item. She's going to enjoy it. We laughed so hard about that. Like we both stressed out about it. We both literally just gave each other the same thing. And out of that came my motto: nobody needs another candle. Now, I get it. Some people love candles. I love candles too. But it's the metaphor for we're just giving to give, right? We're just giving because we feel like society says we're supposed to do that. That experience was the catalyst that really gave me comfort and confidence to start speaking up with everybody. Like, look, I'm not doing gifts anymore. I love you. I appreciate you. I became way more intentional all year long about making sure I let people know that I appreciate them. I'm grateful for them. I value them. Sometimes I would see something and I'd be like, oh, my friend Kelly would love that. And I would buy it for her and just give it to her, because I don't need to have a day on the calendar to show you I care about you and I'm thoughtful and I found something. I can just do that no matter what, any day, every day. And so maybe we start to have conversations now. On the flip side, there are some people that giving is their love language and they get joy from giving. Who am I to steal the joy if you want to give me something? And this happened with my my besties, three of us, Lisa, Kelly, and me. Lisa owns the best gift stores in Denver, literally voted years and years and years in a row, the best gift stores in Denver. I was like, I can't be getting Lisa gifts. Like, so I had the conversation with the friends, like, can we stop doing this? And Lisa was like, yes, please. Well, that first year, Kelly gives us gifts. Like, what are you doing? We said, no, oh, but it's just something little. Usually it was something little I really didn't care or need or want. Right. So then I was like, oh, but Kelly, right? And this big deal. After a couple of years, Lisa and I are like, look, she likes to give gifts. She knows she's not getting anything back because we already had established the expectation. She loves to give it. I have learned accept it with grace and gratitude, whether I like it or not, whether it's something I care about or need or not. I am going to be so grateful that I have people in my life who want to give me things. I mean, how beautiful is that? I'm not going to steal her joy. She also knows she's not getting anything in return, and I don't feel bad about that. She gets lots in return all year long because she is my friend, just like I get lots in return from her all year long because we're friends, right? So I think that's when you get to that deeper level connection about the people you're spending time, money, and energy with, those are super precious resources. And if you are just doling them out of expectation or obligation, or because you're afraid of judgment or criticism, double check with yourself and align your priorities, align your goals and values to operate your life accordingly. Otherwise, it's those little, kind of those little ticks that start to kind of add up, right? And I know there are people who keep track about how much you did or didn't spend and what that looked like. There was a woman in another class who shared, I have to buy gifts for everybody because my mother-in-law makes us. I'm like, wow, that is some power. Tell me how she does that. Well, I mean, if I don't get things, there's all this criticism. She makes a big deal about it. Now make sure you get this and this and that. We're doing this and this and that. Make sure you have something for this person and that. And it's a constant conversation. And I said, well, how does that make you feel? She's like, well, I just do it because I don't want the backlash from my mother-in-law. And yeah, I wake up in January with that credit card bill and it's not okay. I am not in the same financial situation as a lot of other people in my family, but it's a stressor because I feel like I need to do it. Otherwise, I'll be judged and criticized and it'll be made a big deal of. And I said, okay, so you actually just answered the question right there because your mother-in-law doesn't make you do anything. You choose to do it because you don't want to be judged and criticized and have people make a big deal about it. And I get it. I get why you do that because none of that other stuff is fun. But is it fun when you open that credit card in January and fun all along the way that you're stressing and it's causing you severe anxiety because financially this is going to be hard for you? Is that worth it? And so it made her look a different way and say, you know what? Okay, we're going to put a boundary around that. And I'm just going to be bold and tell her. And I asked, what about your husband? Like, how does he feel? He's like, oh, he just always does what mom tells him to do. I'm like, well, maybe that's part of it. Right. But that is to the point of, but nobody makes you do anything. We have choice. And if you feel like going out of your comfort zone with the financial budget is worth it because it's the holidays, then do it. And don't feel stressed about it. Don't feel angry about it, frustrated. Don't feel any of those feelings because you are making that intentional choice. If it is not worth it, then you make a different choice. Hard now or harder later. If you've listened to me before, you realize that I say that all the time because that is the way it goes. It's hard to set a boundary. That's what basically that's doing, right? Setting a boundary with the mother-in-law and managing the expectation up front. It's not going to be a surprise. You're going to talk to her and you're going to say, look, I'm buying gifts for this person, this person, this person. Maybe it's the kids, maybe it's whoever, or I'm not buying gifts for anyone. And that's how, and you'll get the backlash and then you'll figure it out. Otherwise, you're going to live your life this way and it causes resentment, lots of stress and anxiety, right? And all of that stuff has a domino effect into all the other energy that's going on around the holiday time. Yes, thank you for that comment. That this person gets great joy from giving special gifts. It's important to recognize that not all expect something in return. Yeah. And I think, again, that goes to understanding on a deeper level the people we're sharing time with, right? All right. Getting organized. I mean, we've all heard the adage, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? Here we are, it's the middle of December. I know most people cannot wrap their head around the fact that Christmas is, what, 10, 11 days away. Yep, it's true. And it's been true since January 1st that Christmas will come on December 25th. Like, this is not a surprise. It happens every year, same time every year. So ideally, maybe we're starting well before this time, right? We're going to give ourselves lots of time to think and plan. I do start in October. I just look at the calendar and I look at all the obligations, expectations, and options between then and whenever you decide the holidays are over. And then I evaluate my capabilities and capacity in this current time. I don't operate on what I used to be able to do, what I wish I could do, what somebody else thinks I can do. I operate based on current reality because your capabilities and capacities change every year. There is not one year that is identical to the next year. And sometimes we just kind of go along and we just do what we've always done because we haven't stopped to actually evaluate and recognize that, oh, financially, I'm in a different place this year than I've been before. Maybe it's better, maybe it's not. Or energy and time wise, I'm in a different place than I've been in the past for a variety of reasons. Or priorities have shifted because other things in life have happened. And so things that used to be super, super important are really not that important anymore. And things that maybe didn't have a lot of importance are really important now. And so maybe I'm going to spend more time, money, and energy this year because there's some things that are super important for me to do. And it's going to cost time, money, and energy. Whereas 5 years ago, I would have been like, oh, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not spending my time and energy on that. So evaluate it for the present time, right? And then you have conversations with the people you're sharing time with. And you start to become picky about what you're going to commit to. Maybe you are like me and you have very simple life and you can say yes to everything because everything is 4 things. I can do 4 things. Maybe you're like a lot of people I know and everything is 40 things and they're going to try to do 40 things and they're not going to love it because you can't do 40 things and take care of this and be a healthy, happy human. So here it is, right? We're going to extend ourselves in all kinds of ways because it's the holidays. And eventually it's going to come back in a way that's not okay. And we might not be fully enjoying any of it because we're not okay. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind, you are never going to please everyone. And as we have, families that are separated by distance or by nature, families that have changed dynamics, things change. And if you have someone in your life who insists on something, again, it's really your choice. It really is. And it's hard sometimes to put yourself first. And yet, you matter in all of this too. You and your family matter. And if we're doing all the things, eventually you're going to wake up in January and not feel great. You're probably not even going to get to January. You're going to not feel great along the way. So keeping in mind, the self-care, right? And this is what I teach and preach on all the time. Take care of your human. So separate your unique named individual self from the human being that you're in charge of. Just look at it. How are you treating it? Are you treating it with kindness and compassion? Are you abusing it? It's kind of funny when you think about how we celebrate this time of year. We celebrate by overindulging, putting really delicious poison in our bodies, feeding it maybe lots of alcohol. We don't let it rest. We put it in financial strain. We do a lot of things to our human that is not kind at all. And this is how we celebrate. Maybe we can learn to celebrate in a different way. So you think about what's going on with not only the holidays, but this time of year as well, right? It's colder and darker for most people. And things take longer because it's dark and everything takes longer in the dark. So you have to budget for that. Of course, there are extra obligations and things to get done because of the holidays, which means that's going to come off the table from somewhere else. And usually it's you. So we can get ourselves in all or nothing mode, right? When life is kind of normal, I do it this way. And when it's disrupted, then I can't do any of it. Try not to get into all or nothing mode, right? Pick your times, schedule it on your calendar. When are you going to fit in moving your body? It might not look the way it looks like in August, might not look the same way in February, but doesn't mean you can't exercise at all. You can modify. Something's better than nothing. Are we nourishing our bodies consistently in a kind way? Yes, we have extras, believe me. This girl's indulging in the extras too. But it's not a constant indulgence every day just because it's there, because that's part of the problem, right? It's there too much. And then we kind of get in that cycle and you're like, oh, well, it's the holidays. I'll worry about it in January. And then you wake up in January like, oh, God, now what? That's why we have resolutions, right? I don't know, maybe we can just stop making resolutions because we stop doing all the things that are eventually going to make us want to make a resolution. It should be worth it. If you are doing things to your human that are not really helping it thrive, then it should be worth it. I mean, I was sharing with Angela what I did to my human to get to where I am today. It was not kind. Awake for 24 hours, lots of hard things to get to where I am, but it's worth it because now I'm where I am and I'm going to have this lovely experience with my family. I would normally not do that to my human. I would let it sleep. I would let it eat right. I would plenty of hydration, lots of movement. To do this other thing, those things weren't possible. But I can't keep doing that and think I'm going to thrive during this time. So you think about how you're going to navigate, how you're going to budget these things, plan them in. And in a lot of ways, this means saying no to someone or something. Maybe it is saying no to you, right? Maybe I'm not going to consume alcohol at every event because it's there. Maybe I'm going to be picky and decide not to drink at this one, or not to have that extra glass of wine at dinner, or whatever it is. Just because it's there and I like it doesn't mean I have to have it. You probably want it. And if it's worth it, you should have it and love it and don't feel bad about it. But a lot of times we do it and then we're like, oh, yeah, I don't feel great. That wasn't really worth it. We can avoid that whole, feeling later by just being thoughtful and mindful ahead of time. And I think, again, having people in your life who maybe are also a little bit like-minded and who also would like to wake up in January feeling pretty good, well, then let's work on this together, right? Maybe we can be accountable and help each other do things differently. It really is about the cumulative effect of all the things that we do between now and then that's going to impact that outcome. This is a huge piece of this, right? And probably one of the most difficult things to deal with, like in general, but certainly at the holidays. So let me just say a couple of things. Well, one, I'm going to tell you, I have a great podcast. Yes, a little biased. My December 4th episode is with this gal, Alyssa Coelho, young gal, lost her dad on Christmas a couple years, well, yeah, not that long ago, I guess 8 or 9 years ago. And we had a great conversation about grief and grief at the holidays specifically. There is no right or wrong way to grieve. It doesn't matter if you lost someone yesterday or 30 years ago. It doesn't matter if you lost them on Christmas Day or on March 6th. Loss is loss, right? And we can, it's not just people, it's other things, right? Maybe we've lost a pet, maybe we've lost a way of life. Like we've lost something and that creates a void. And it's hard to acknowledge the void and not get sucked down into it. The grieving process is necessary, but there is no rule book as to how to do this. So I would just encourage anybody, if you are someone who's lost, whatever, share those feelings with someone else. If you have someone in your life who has lost, let them have their feelings. the last thing somebody wants to hear is what you think they should do, what you think they shouldn't do, how they should do it, when they should do it. That I can't believe you're still upset about this, or haven't you gotten over this yet? None of that is helpful at all. So maybe just showing up and supporting and being there. I think sometimes because we don't like to be uncomfortable, and it's hard to be around somebody who is sad because they're grieving. It's uncomfortable for us, so we want to make them feel better. So we do and say all these things to make them feel better. It's actually to make ourselves feel better. That's really what that is. So perhaps you can ask somebody, how can I support you? And let them share. Maybe you're that person. You can say, you know what, this is what I need. This is how you can help me. And everybody's different. This young gal, she decided to go travel, and her family was like, how could you leave? How could you go away? Your father just died. How could you do that? She needed to do that for herself. So everybody's going to have an opinion about what you should or shouldn't be doing. Double check with yourself, right? And know that there is no right or wrong way. I do think talking about it is super healthy and helpful, because to pretend like something isn't happening or upsetting or existing is really just like a false universe, right? So I have my friend lost her dad a couple years ago, right after Thanksgiving, and she just posted the other day this little skinny birch tree, and she decorated all, and she's like, Dad loved birch tree, so this is our Christmas tree this year. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. And that is really the first time that I have seen her be open talking about the loss of her dad. It's taken her years to share and be open publicly about talking about that. I have a friend who, she's single, but her dog of 17 years passed in May. And she at the time didn't even really think about like how the holidays would be impacted by that. But we were talking the other day, and she's like, I just can't put up the tree and the decorations, because part of that was her dog always, knocking the tree over or tearing open a present or doing something. And she's like, just knowing that none of that is going to happen, like I'm not ready for it. But that she thought about it ahead of time and realized what's best for her. And what's best for her right now is to not do those things, even though those things generally bring her joy, because they're connected to this other thing that's going to be missing. She's just not ready for it. Maybe at some point she'll be ready and she can just have good memories of her dog doing that. But right now, it's just not where she is. So grief is a tough one. It's never going to go away. And yet we can do a lot to help others and to help ourselves through something that's going to be really difficult. All right, interactive tools. These are great ones. If you've been to these sessions before, you have seen these before. If you have not yet used them, I'm going to encourage you to take some time and explore them. Also really helpful is your EAP. So double check and make sure that your family members are aware of this resource as well. Give them the access to the resources. Sometimes somebody wants to reach out for help. They just don't want you to know. And this is, I think, a really important time of year to stay tuned in with others. Be aware of your own feelings. Seasonal depression is a very real thing. When we have less light into our eyeballs, we have less serotonin being developed. That's our happy chemical. So if somebody struggles maybe with depression already, usually this is a little difficult, even more so. Maybe you don't struggle with depression, but you recognize that you're kind of down. You're not as motivated or uplifted. It could be because we're not getting as much daylight into our eyeballs. I would say if you can, get out in real natural light early in the day, so we get that, or get yourself a light therapy lamp and get some of those lumens into those photoreceptors at the back of your eyeballs. You'd be shocked at how that really does stimulate a little more energy, a little more spirit, and feeling a little more uplifted. But definitely stay connected. I know it can be, we're in a frenzy, right? We got all the things, we're doing all the things, and then we miss a lot of things. So take a pause, take a breath, look around, connect with your people, check in, ask them, how are you feeling? What are you doing? How you check in with yourself, right? Where's my energy? Where are my thoughts? How am I feeling about a certain thing? Maybe we don't need to address everything all right now, but at least we can acknowledge these things. What we don't want to do is get all in a frenzy and miss some things, because then all of a sudden it's bypassed us. And did we even enjoy this time, right? Sometimes slowing down and learning to say no to things actually helps you enjoy all of it a lot more. And I know there's a thing, fear of missing out. I get it. I have that too. And I made some decisions over the Thanksgiving week because my family was going to do something super fun after they dropped me off at the airport. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're not doing that without me. So I went to great expense to change my ticket because I wanted to have that experience with my family. So sometimes we are going to do things that are going to send us over our comfort zone because it's worth it. You can't always go out of your comfort zone and it'll end up being worth it, because at some level it's going to be at your expense, right? And then maybe we're not going to have a lot of fun trying to dig out of that. So other things that are available, your work-life benefits. Of course, very easy to access your QR code there, as well as the toll-free number, supportlink.com. And then also, supportlink.com, create your account, and then your code is PSH or Penn State Health. The podcast is Be a Better Being. In fact, if you just go to my website, betterbeings.net, you'll find all the things. But it's the Be a Better Being podcast, and it is on all the platforms. I have so many great guests. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty proud of my guest lineup. So check it out. Lots of good stuff there. And Angela, I'm gonna pass it back to you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. Another fantastic presentation, as always. It's been great ending our 2023 with you, but stay tuned because we have a lot more coming in 2024. Michelle's actually going to be joining us again in February. So look out for future promotions and flyers and emails regarding all our 2024 Lunch and Learn sessions. So with that, a huge thank you to Michelle Zellner. A huge thank you to all of you who tuned in today. We hope you have a fabulous holiday season, and we'll see you all next year. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.